Hello, everyone. Good day to you all, and welcome to the fortnightly meet. The team here at Stable refer to as the Payments Paddock again. Apologies to our regular listeners who are maybe expecting the episode on Friday. Both Al and I had some other things that came up and we couldn't record on time, so we're doing this on a Monday instead. Hopefully the delay is worth it. I'm your host, Craig Agater, and joining me, as always, is Stable's perennial spokesman, fledgling social media personality and managing director, Alistair Hesketh Hudson. I always butcher your surname, Alistair. I'm really sorry. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me. I don't know what it is about Hesketh Hudson. I need to practice it a bit more. But how are you doing? How's your week been?
Very good. The week is good, Craig. It's only Monday, so you're defaulting back to the Friday script.
Yes, I am, aren't I? Yeah. How was last week? How's the week before?
Yeah, last week was good. A lot of travelling down the M4 corridor, Swindon and Bath, to a couple of meetings and events. So all good. I was actually back at Bath this morning for
I was going to say,
meeting.
you're like a boomerang at the moment with the Southwest. You're out there all the time. You're a
the
fixture on the
M4
circuit.
and Great Western Railway. I'm two of their biggest customers at the moment.
And actually, our listeners might not know, but you bomb down the M4 on your bike, don't you? Is that
if it's not raining? Yeah, if it's not raining, I'll take the bike. Because if anyone lives in London and has tried to drive from Wandsworth out to Hammersmith and the M4 and beyond, that journey will take anywhere between an hour and 2 hours just to get to the M4. So it's on a bike, it's significantly easier and more fun as well, but just not in the rain. And we have been plagued with some pretty grim weather the last 3-4 days.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a bit miserable, hasn't it? Well, hopefully we can lighten the mood with some, I was going to say some shining examples of fintech excellence. But before we get on to that, just to introduce this again for our returning listeners and any new listeners to the pod, it is now time for us to get into what we refer to as the payment places, the equestrian pun littered segment of our show where we cover what we consider to be the top 3 news items you need to know about in the world of payments and fintech. Just a little bit about Stable, in case you've never heard about us before. Our mission is to empower and enable finance teams to do more with less, reduce financial wastage, and help them become engines for growth within their businesses via our flagship Stable Borrow and Stable Benchmark capabilities. So Al and I will be providing our take on why these specific stories matter for UK businesses and finance teams, and all views are our own and don't necessarily reflect those of Stable. But if you have any questions whatsoever, how they impact your business, what that you can do to better set yourselves up for growth, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the team at Stable. We'd love to hear from you. The email address to get in touch is info@stablepayments.co.uk. So with all that being said, Al, what do we have first? Obviously, we've been looking at your screen for a little moments now, and I can see something about a UK payments initiative.
Again.
On Visa and MasterCard, yeah, that's it. They're here every week. Unsurprisingly, the biggest card schemes. What is going on, and why does it matter?
So this feeds quite nice into some of the themes we've covered in the past. So you've got the monopoly that is Visa and MasterCard that have a stranglehold on the acquiring ecosystem, and the UK Payments Initiative is the UK's attempt at collecting some of the biggest lenders in the UK to fund a new entity that is going to take on or accelerate the growth of account to account or open banking or pay by bank, as it's called, to challenge the stronghold or the stranglehold, as they put it in the title, that is Visa and MasterCard. So it's it's a bit of a kind of gang war in a way, if you can say such a thing inside the payment space. But they're taking it seriously.
It's definitely so. I mean, yeah, they refer to Visa and MasterCard as a cartel quite often, don't they? In terms of how closely in lockstep they are aligned. It very much seems to me that we are hearing a lot more of diversification away from Visa and MasterCard. There's a bit of geopolitical aspect to this as well, I think. Obviously, they are US companies, and like you might expect with a lot of the uncertainty out there in the overall, global geopolitical picture at the moment, I think some alternative is a good idea. And I think also the fact is that MasterCard and Visa, since the dawn of time, almost it seems, as ever since cards were ubiquitous with their logos, and they really became the two front runners when it comes to any sort of payment rails. Having some sort of local alternative, I think so far in Germany is probably one of the closest alternatives that I've really, became ubiquitous in a domestic market perspective. But I think this is generally to be considered a good thing. I don't know what you think, Al,
Yeah.
if you...
So Amazon is a good example as well, although they sit outside of this campaign, but they've really pushed the primary payment method for retail customers on the Amazon app, and the website as well, to pay by bank, to cut out the cost, which is something that we've seen happen a lot over the last 12 months. So more and more companies are moving to that as a standard, and there's the cost is the obvious play, but there's obviously things like failed card transactions are an absolute killer for a high value purchase, because you immediately get that that buyer's remorse sneaking in if you're trying to buy something over 300 quid, and you're asked to verify and it fails, and you get a second chance to really check whether you want to buy it. So I think it's coming from a really good place, and if it means that Visa and MasterCard have to reterm or recontract some of their products to compete, then yeah, it's only a good thing in our eyes. And that's coming from us in an industry in payments where everything is always about speed, it's about cost, it's about value. Like it's a constantly evolving game. So I think it's definitely a good thing. And the fact
I,
that some of the biggest lenders on board as well, Barclays, NatWest, Lloyds, BC, to come in and effectively front the money for this. It's really, really
I
interesting.
think they obviously want to have a hand in what this network or this initiative looks like, right? Because the last thing they want is to be on the outside, as essentially they almost are when it comes to the card schemes, right? Even the banks themselves, that are issuing the cards, with those logos on, or doing the card acquiring for them, they're very much another slice of the pie they're having to give away at the moment. So potentially, the closer you can get to the metal with this, the more benefit there is for those that consortium of front runners that are kind of leading this. So I think it's and just going back to the point that you were saying about Amazon, and their account to account, their pay by bank solution. I was reading an article the other day. It was really interesting, and actually I wasn't aware of this. That I don't know if it's still the case, or it's changed over time, or maybe this is a historic thing. I haven't really done my full research on it, but whether it's now or previously, Costco only accepts or accepted Visa cards and debit and credit. And this is in the US, and I was thinking about this, and I thought, how could they turn away, a big portion of their customer base, that might have MasterCards or whatever. And it is I suppose it's pure cost discipline, to your point around, looking at cost, looking at these businesses, how they manage, accept payments, and essentially by promising Visa all of their flow, they essentially gave them exclusivity on, we will only accept Visa cards. And I guess, you can do that when you're the size of Costco or, indeed Amazon. I think Amazon even were posturing for a while, I think it was Visa that was the one that they were sort of posturing with, saying, well, we're not going to accept Visa cards, Visa payment cards. And eventually that impasse passed. But it's really frightening in a way, in that some of these merchants are so big that they almost become existential for, whether it's the card scheme or for perception of that scheme. But yeah, it was just staggering when I thought, well, if they it means that they can get their Visa acceptance or their acquiring cost down by 10 basis points. I mean, 10 basis points across Costco's US revenue is is absolutely massive. So you know, it becomes one of those where actually you can start dictating what that customer experience looks like. And I bet that, you know, 90% of the people that end up at checkout have got a MasterCard, got a Visa card, sorry, in their wallet, you know, alongside a MasterCard, because it's very seldom that somebody has one type of card or the other. So,
Yeah, so
um,
Costco's US. I mean, as a group, fourth quarter. I mean, the numbers are just insane. So yeah, someone's obviously crunched the numbers, but yeah, we're talking group turnover is like just under $270 billion. So yeah, a couple of basis points here and there makes it worth it. But you're right, that's just that's a concept where someone's willing to turn away business in lieu of having a cheaper acquiring route.
yeah, that's it.
The other
Yeah.
bit that's probably not covered in here as much is recurring payments. So that's another
Yes.
take on things like direct debits, and which direct debits are very, very old school in comparison to how a lot of this tech is built. I remember at World First, we used to have a paper-based direct debit form that would be filled out, scanned back to us, and then stored. Don't know where it went. It went somewhere, never to be seen again. But a lot of this
Somewhere
is
very secure, Al. We need to
yeah,
reassure
of course,
people that send that form back. It went somewhere under lock and key. It wasn't just left out on a desk somewhere. Uh, Definitely not.
absolutely.
So
So,
yeah,
so yeah, this will help drive recurring payments as well, which is a whole other whole other area that needs to be considered. A lot of people have got repeat payments going through cards, stored cards through your wallet, which we talked about recently. So this is another way to reduce costs for those merchants, to have a bigger like a bigger like SaaS model, if you like, for clients without having the complexities. And again, this is all about helping them grow, because if a business was throttled by the fact that they were only able to do X amount of direct debits, or there was a cost prohibitive behind it, it allows them to step out of those shackles and go and grow. And not just in the UK, it could be Europe as well. Imagine a
well, and
company that builds a good product and they want to start selling in Germany or Netherlands, and they have a marketplace, and one of the biggest blockers is that they rely on a £5.99 weekly charge, and they're having to collect card payments from people in a different country, and you could see how it could very quickly make that business not tangible in those areas.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's just not viable, is it? Doing it at that, you know, when you're trying to scale it as well. Just going back to your point around these recurring payments as well. I think Trading 212 was one of the businesses that was cited as being one of the early adopters of that specific capability. But I mean, I've seen it, I've witnessed it as a consumer, and I think part of the thing that gets me quite excited about this, in a way, in that um, there you are not fragmenting the card base anymore by doing this. So I think when they say it's a competitor to Visa and MasterCard, or is challenging it, actually it's kind of going under the skin of the card schemes in many ways, in that bank accounts are ubiquitous. Everybody in the UK, well, you know, within yeah, within certain parameters, but you know, nearly everyone has a bank account. So, you know, the fact that this pay by bank capability is offered across the board uh, is really a way to undercut all of the card scheme, you know, tribalism, if you like, or you know, where um, there's a lot of meat on the bone, essentially, for merchants and consumers to be, you know, to be um, uh, to be exploited, essentially. So I do like, I mean, when you think about efficient payment flows and rails, like, it just seems natural, it seems exciting. It really seems like you know, between this and Wero in Europe, there is a real move to, you know, unshackle the you know, the businesses and the economies, really, from Visa and Mastercard being the two major players in town. It all remains to be seen kind of how it works in execution, but so far the execution that I've seen has been pretty spot on. I suppose the only other thing, apart from, you know, how quickly will it catch fire, is um, is there still an unanswered question around consumer protections? Because for people that use credit cards purposefully, um, one of the big benefits is the consumer protections of a Section 75, what's known as Section 75, which essentially means that any purchase over a certain threshold, I think it's £100, I can't remember off the top of my head, anything over £100, even if only £1 of that was spent or paid for with a credit card, you're protected for the entire value of the purchase. So what that actually does, it might seem brilliant for consumers, but what it actually does, it probably has a quite, because of chargeback, fraud, etc., it actually has an inflating effect on overall processing costs across the board. So I think if with APP fraud reimbursement now and authorized push payment fraud, now if you are subject to fraud and you pay for something and you applied a decent level of due diligence in prior to making that payment and hadn't circumvented any of the bank's warnings, you would then be eligible for a refund at the moment from the bank. So I suppose that is part of it, because these all fall under those APP fraud reimbursement rules. So I suppose that I might have answered my own question there. That probably is it. And
It will have to be a big consideration, because you're right.
Yeah.
It's if there is a massive swing of adoption or usage away from that, then it will leave consumers exposed. And you could argue both sides of the coin. We've spoken to prospective clients that have had their business nearly dismantled by fraudulent chargebacks, and then you can argue it from the consumer side. It's a really good piece. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they try and recreate that, or what thresholds apply. Because if there is all this, if there is all these savings taking place, then if a business has been paying £1 million a year in processing fees and that drops down to 250 grand, then potentially that portion of that saving is going to have to be put aside for potential chargebacks. And that's not just fraud. That's all manner of things. Maybe an issue with the product defects, delivery issues. There's all going to be all kinds of reasons that someone may look to get a refund on the product. So yeah,
absolutely. Perfect.
Whilst
Well,
we're on the kind of topic of government / authorities, we've got a nice piece here about gov.uk removing their relationship with Stripe, a very well-known payment processor, and replacing it with ADYEN.
I think Stripe is the biggest. I don't know. Obviously, it's a private company still. I don't know. Like, from a valuation perspective, it's the biggest, payments processor from knowledge. To actually kind of, switch up to change to ADYEN is a big step for them. So, what do you think's prompted this?
I'm sure there will be rules and frameworks to make sure that certain providers aren't allowed to go on and provide services for more than X period of time, I would hope, and therefore a bidding process or a review process has come forward. But the government's digital service, the GDS, has awarded ADYEN, based out of the Netherlands, contracts which will clear them just over 25 million quid a year as its new payment service provider for non-crown card payments and pay by bank services. So again, pay by bank coming up again, becoming more popular. I'm just looking now at some of the commentary from ADYEN.
I think it's interesting, because I think I know that I'll have the pitchforks out for me from both sides probably in what I'm about to say. I think Stripe is generally treated within the market as the CTO's or developer's choice of payment processor, just because of how their genesis as 7 lines of code, simplicity, online payment acceptance, being they didn't move into point of sale terminals or anything until way into their journey. And I think their mission has always been to increase the GDP of the internet. Was kind of their, I don't know if it's still their mission statement, but that was kind of their tagline for a while. But maybe that keenness on technological innovation, on integrating capabilities into their their APIs and their embedded products. Maybe there's, you think about government procurement, it is very sharply focused on cost efficiency. And I would imagine this is probably what this has come down to purely. There's been, who can sharpen their pencils the most, and who can get down to a number that works. But interestingly, still apparently
it says. I'm just reading a
yeah
separate
yeah
separate article. So again,
mm,
coming back to pay by bank, the decision emerged from a competitive tender process and represents a key step in Gov UK's pay strategy to update its payment infrastructure and expand available methods, particularly open banking style pay by bank solutions.
okay
So I know that Stripe offer that as a payment collection route, but maybe if it's not their own tech or it's outsourced, I'm not sure. But they've cited that's one of the reasons that they moved across. So again, just shows how topical this is at the moment. And
yeah
for whatever reason, the ADYEN solution from a pay by bank perspective is better suited than Stripe's to the government needs.
yeah
So
that's interesting. It'd be and obviously it'd be interesting to see if this is a trend across other public government payment
yeah.
processing.
It
Yeah,
says
it's
its team will work with individual service providers to ensure a smooth handover, minimizing any impact on consumers and organizations. If I know anything about the way government bodies work, the thought of them moving a payment provider and doing it smoothly, like
no, there'll be babies and bathwater strewn
oh
across the
yeah,
streets. Yeah, there's going to
there
be
wouldn't be any other way to do it. It's just that's just
yeah,
the way it has to be. It will be a complete disaster. It will all break,
yeah.
and then it will all smooth itself out, and no one will know. But I saw someone on LinkedIn posting about the checkout experience of one of the Gov's factions. I can't remember what it was, but I messaged him about how challenging it is in Lambeth, where I live, to pay for things like parking permits. It's just the most excruciating experience. Like, to do it on a mobile device or through a laptop, it's frightening how difficult it is. So
And they don't
if
have
this,
any customer friendly ways of paying, do they? They don't have your Apple Pays or your G Pays or anything like that. It's all right. Enter your entire 16-digit card number again. Enter
yeah,
all of your card
it
details
times
every
out.
single time. No saved checkouts or anything like that. Um, although I hope you're not paying for your parking permit on a regular. You're not having to, supposed to say one-off annual payment. But
Paying for
yeah,
my
it's
penalty charge notices for sitting in yellow boxes on the way to
yeah.
Bath.
I was going to say
um,
Dart charge is. I was thinking about my experience using the Dartford Tunnel and the Queen Elizabeth, the QE2 Bridge, to go across the Thames and Thurrock. It's they at least do. I mean, it is all ANPR, and you save your card details and everything, and it all charges automatically. So I don't know if that's included within this. I imagine it probably is. But if they ask me to enter my card details again, I will lose my biscuits. And I imagine that's probably what lots of gov.uk users are going to find now, is that they're going to have to go and enter all their details again or re-authenticate somewhere with ADYEN.
but going back to the earlier point, it's another great example of adoption, and by no less the gov.uk side of the authority. So it is positive. We have, lastly, ING have completed a live end-to-end European agentic
Oh, okay.
payment.
We had to squeeze in some AI, didn't we? We just could not go one fortnight without having some
We
sort of
spoke about
AI.
this a couple of weeks
Yeah,
ago. That one of
yeah,
the frameworks that the FCA had rolled out was around how do we create a clear vision of how agentic payment controllers or agents can live and work within what is already a very regulated space. So ING have
yeah.
um, gone ahead and tested the water out already for us.
Done it.
Again, in line with
Open Pandora's box. Yeah,
Mastercard had to be involved, obviously, along with Worldline. So what they claim is the Europe's first end-to-end agentic payment transaction. just to highlight here.
There's
So the
even a
transactions
video
were,
here, isn't there? Is that a sizzle
yeah,
reel or something? Yeah, I don't know how well it would play, but
let's
it's.
try it, see what happens.
Should we try it? We might have to describe it for audio only listeners.
Blimey, very loud on my side.
Or is it? I can't hear a thing. It's all right.
Report that.
We haven't deafened the audience. I don't think. I think we're okay. But uh,
It's got a
yeah.
description here though. Transactions for an ING customer used an AI assistant to buy tickets on the Royal Concert the Girl Orchestra website. So hopefully, if I've not pronounced that correctly,
That's right. I
somebody
remember
can
watching this
validate.
video now. So it was. I'm going. You know, typical thing. We're a couple. We want to go celebrate our anniversary. We want to see somebody. You know, a concert. We want to spend this much on this date, and it went off and fetched the listings and gave you the options. And then I presume it was a case of clicking on one of them and then the agent kicking in and doing all of the website checkout, etc. It feels like it's a little bit like a front end way of doing an actual sort of API piece, isn't it? Kind of just launching an agent into a merchant's world. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it'd
don't know
be
what you
interesting to
think.
understand where, like, where it sits in that
Yeah,
journey. But it makes perfect sense. So someone's
yeah.
requested information that's available um, in the data set that that website hosts, and then they've approved it, and then that same business has sent a request to the client to pay for it via a third party. Could be an ADYEN, could be a Stripe. So they've got to be involved in the loop, and then the customer's card acquirer or the acquiring bank or however they're paying needs to be involved. So yeah, it makes sense. Depends how efficient you are at this stuff, right? Like, if you're someone very good at booking flights, it doesn't take that long. And the search function for me is relatively easy to navigate. So it's just like I'm going to a wedding this week in Porto, would I ask an agent to look for flights, or would I just click the date range? The date range takes 10 seconds to scroll. So
So you're saying it might be a solution for a problem that doesn't really exist. I think
if you were
you're
driving or
thinking.
you couldn't get access to your laptop, it kind of makes sense. But I don't know. I would rather just look at it myself.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to run it side by side and go, right, your plans involve going out to this particular show on this time, go and book it yourself, versus asking the agent. And I'm sure the agent will do it much quicker. That's one of the things they're very good at, is processing massive amounts of information in a short period of time. But yeah,
Is it? Do you think?
maybe
Do
I
you
should
think
be
some?
cynical.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. Like, that's what we have to be with this stuff. Is, you know, cynical. I think because um, as exciting, you know, the headline is, in reality, I mean, I also think for purchases like that, certainly big ticket purchases or travel, like you said, the friction is purposeful. You know, is necessary in some cases because you are probably, you know, there's probably an element of consideration with these purchases. There's probably an element of, you know, I mean, I suppose you could argue, well, the agent could give you the answers to the sorts of questions you might have about a hotel or how you like to travel, or maybe the agent could even learn what your preferences are and proactively suggest, you know, options. I mean, actually, I can see that being probably, you know, the North Star that everybody will be chasing or you know, will be looking to, which is going to be, how do we use this for generating sales opportunities, essentially, where the person might not even realize that they want to do a certain thing. It's kind of demand generation and uh, activities where you're essentially taking somebody's previous habits or preferences. You know, oh, they go away. They usually go away this time of year, and the agent could potentially proactively then source some ideas before somebody's even asked for, you know, particular trips and things like that, or put together a package. I think package holidays is something that have gradually been unbundled. You know, some people still swear by them. I can't remember the last time I went on a package holiday, but quite often that's because I've got very specific needs when it comes to traveling. So, and I don't necessarily trust a travel agent to be able to accommodate all of them in a package holiday. But maybe that could be a use case here where you're having to go to three different merchants, a hotel, a flights and, you know, maybe some sort of entertainment or activities, or food booking, you know, restaurant bookings, etc. Maybe they could, that agent could then assemble a selection of them that are compatible with each other, that also meet your
That
preferences.
that
That
makes
I'd be
much more
interested in
sense.
seeing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes much more sense. So you could say, there's four of us, two adults, two children. We want to fly out to Alicante between these dates. We'll need car hire and we need an Airbnb accommodation that has like ground floor with access to a pool. Like you give it all the prompts and then say, go and find me the best deals. And then it
yeah.
comes back with deal one gold, deal two silver. And then if you go perfect and book it, and then you hopefully turn up at the airport and everything's done.
Yeah, and if not, you've got you'll have to, you know, make a complaint via an AI chatbot about another AI agent, and they might be in cahoots. That's the thing I'm worried about. As soon as these AIs can start interacting with each other, they might be, you know, the equivalent of an incompetent, you know, customer service person, you know, covering for somebody who's done something naughty on their side. I don't know.
I think that
I'm
that
being,
makes perfect sense. It
yeah.
reminds me, years ago, someone told me about a smart fridge. This is like way before AI was a thing. And the smart fridge would be able to track what you'd bought and what was in the fridge. And when certain things got low, it would reorder them for you.
I
Which
think that's
maybe that's
reality, Al. That isn't, that is. I think that's a, you know, those are legit out in the wild, quite reasonably main. I mean, not
that
for you
feels
and
like
I,
where
obviously, but like I feel like that's quite a mainstream thing for the upper echelons, that they have some sort of inventory tracking fridge that reorders automatically.
that feels like the birthstone of agentic AI. And maybe it started with
Yeah.
the smart fridge, because it's the same concept, right?
It all
It's looking
started
at
in the
data.
fridge. Yeah,
And
yeah, I like it. Uh,
well,
yeah.
after this, I'm gonna have a mess around with Claude and just see if it can hypothetically basically create me a holiday and see how well it does, and we can circle back around next time with
Yeah, that's it.
with
We'll
the results.
hear about your misadventures. Actually, speaking of which, you are off on holiday, aren't you? Very shortly at the end of this week, and
Yeah,
was it an
gonna,
AI free booking experience in that? Was it
it
all
was.
manually done? Right.
We've done it very piecemeal, so I've booked it all separately. I've not even booked the return flight back yet. That's how much we're looking forward to a holiday. I'm going to
Wow.
book a
So
last minute
you've
flight
literally
back.
got a one way ticket to paradise,
We're
is
going
it?
to
Or,
Porto for a wedding, and then we're coming back to Gatwick for a day, and then we're driving back to Gatwick, and then back out to Alicante for a week with the family. But we haven't booked the return flight home yet, so
it's a
we're gonna I'm
big
gonna
big.
roll the dice. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
I was going to say we won't. So we're going to have another delay to the next payments Paddock then, aren't we? If you're out the week after this, is that right?
I should be. I'm back on the week commencing the um 22nd. No, so we should be okay. If
Yeah.
we either redo it,
Fab.
well, if we redo it on Monday 22nd, if we use this as our new day, that'll
Okay,
be
all
fine.
right. Oh gosh,
Otherwise,
how about this listener
apologies.
base? These are live discussions about our upcoming schedule, because Al has dared to take a holiday, very well earned holiday, admittedly. He's been pulling out of the stop, so he definitely needs some time away. But yes, okay, all right. In which case, I suppose that's actually quite a good segue into the outro, Al, if you're if you're happy to. In terms of, we will then see everybody on the 22nd, or I say we don't see anyone, but you will see us. And you can listen to us if you're so inclined on all popular podcast services, whichever is your favorite. We will be there on the 22nd of June, which is a Monday. And we look forward to speaking to you all then. And in the meantime, if there's anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us at info@stablepayments.co.uk, and have a fabulous fortnight.